Hello there folks, I'm the LonChaneyReviewer, and welcome to the final installment in my favorite film series. This week on 4th of July, I decided to unveil this film on the week of 4th of July because it makes me think of America. Namely because it is an American film that I'm talking about today. But before I continue with my, conclude with my countdown, let me mention the previous films that I mentioned in my favorite film series. Number 10 was Disney's Fantasia, a beautiful, beautiful Technicolor motion picture, very powerful and emotional imagery, as well as a great use of Western music. Number 9, Chaplin's The Gold Rush. It's a great comedic epic. Chaplin turns in an incredible performance, but Georgia Hale steals the show as Georgia in this wonderful film. Number 8, Jurassic Park. My favorite Steven Spielberg film. It's got giant dinosaurs, a solid cast, and a good John Williams theme. What more could you ask for? Number 7, The Red Shoes. For Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger, this Technicolor dream is gorgeous and tells a dark fairy tale, and inspired by the Hans Christian Andersen story of the same name. Number 6, the 1925 version of The Phantom of the Opera. Chaney's makeup and performance make this a legendary production, as well as the art direction by Ben Carey. And some very memorable scenes, such as the masked ball, the unmasking scene, and a few others. Number 5 is the Chaplin film City Lights. The ending is still emotionally powerful, and it's one of the, perhaps the greatest romantic comedy. Number 4, Schoedsack and Cooper's King Kong, the eighth wonder of the world. Dazzling special effects, amazing visuals, a wonderful score by Max Steiner, a solid script, and a very straightforward, linear storyline makes this one a keeper. Number 3, Chaplin's Modern Times, his commentary on the Great Depression and the pursuit of happiness. Great movie. Number 2, Seven Samurai. This 3.5-hour epic is as human as any Shakespeare play. Kurosawa I could almost consider to be a Japanese Shakespeare because of his understanding of human nature. And this film boasts a terrific cast, amazing fight choreography, and bittersweet ending. Fantastic film. Number 1. Favorite film of all time. 1 second, folks. Might be a bit cliche. Casablanca. Yes, my favorite film of all time is not a silent movie. It's not a Lon Chaney film. It's not a Universal horror film. It's not a Chaplin film. It's not a Steven Spielberg film. It's a pretty cliche answer, actually. It's Casablanca. It is my favorite movie of all time, without me giving a second thought. This film still works, even 7 years after I first watched it. Still a wonderful, wonderful film. For the few of you who are not familiar with the plot of Casablanca, it goes down like this. Casablanca tells the story of an African city where an American saloon keeper must deal with a former love of his life and the turning tide of World War II. My favorite element to this film is the cast. Some people might boast Godfather or Godfather Part 2 or The Dark Knight as some of the greatest ensemble pieces ever made, but I'd argue it's Casablanca. It's almost like the best of the 40s. I mean, you have Bogart, Bergman, Paul Henreid, Peter Lorre, Claude Rains, Conrad Veidt, Cindy Greenstreet. This cast screams classic, and everybody does the performances very well. Even in the short time he's on screen, Peter Lorre gives a very creepy and wonderful performance as Signor Ugatti, a character, who's referred to as a cut-rate parasite, and has probably the most important MacGuffin in the film, or the MacGuffin of the film, the letters of transit needed to get out of Casablanca. And this sets in motion events of people trying to obtain these visas and the Nazis not knowing where these visas are. Ingrid Bergman is simply gorgeous in this film, and thanks to the cinematography and just Bergman's features, every scene where there is, like, every frame with her on screen I like to have as like a painting or like a picture on my wall. It's so well filmed, her face. It's just gorgeous. And if you notice, a lot of the film is filmed on her left side of the face because she felt that was the preferable side of her face, and it served her well on this production. Claude Rains is perhaps the best element of the film. His comedic yet very charming character of Captain Louis Renault works with the Nazis, but at the same time he's very good friends with Bogart's character of Rick Blaine, who in my opinion is kind of like the anti-Great Gatsby. Gatsby's character wants to embrace the past. He wants to recreate the past, whereas Bogart wants nothing to do with the past, doesn't care, and he wants to move on because the past is too painful for him. Sidney Greenstead is also great in this film as the head of the black market in Casablanca, and essentially this is almost kind of like a follow-up role to his amazing Oscar-nominated portrayal in Maltese Falcon as Gutman, one of my favorite villains of all time. Another notable cast member is Conrad Veidt, great villain actor who played in such silent films as Waxworks, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, The Man Who Laughs, and The Last Performance. This, I believe, was one of his final films. He died of a heart attack sometime later, or not too much longer later, and he gives a terrific performance as the villain. You hate him, and you want to see him get shot. There you go, perfect villain. Also, we have Dooley Wilson in the film, who is not a piano player in real life. He was actually a drummer, and that's why in Casablanca you may notice he's playing the piano like this. He's not, really playing it. It's the music track goes over him, and he's not really playing. He's just slamming on the keys, which I think is an interesting tidbit because we think of Dooley Wilson as Sam the piano player in Casablanca. Also, there is no such thing as Play It Again, Sam. Just warning you right there. Casablanca also boasts a terrific screenplay with some of the most famous lines of dialogue in history. We'll always have Paris. Round up the usual suspects. Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Of all the gin joints and all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine. The screenplay is witty, it moves the story forward, it doesn't take its time. I mean that in a good way. There's no BS in this movie, there's no filler. It all helps to create the environment of Casablanca and develop our main protagonists and even the main villains. Some of my favorite scenes in the film include the Battle of the Anthems, where the Marseillaise is played against a German anthem, and it's one of the most beautiful, and it's a moment where I genuinely have tears in my eyes because it's such a powerful moment, and a lot of the supporting, not just the supporting cast, but like even the bit players in Casablanca, a lot of them were European refugees escaping Nazi Germany, so that emotion was very genuine for them, singing that type of song. And it serves as a very powerful moment and turning point in Casablanca. I've read a blog on IMDb, not a blog, a post on IMDb once stating that Casablanca has no identifiable themes. They must have been watching a completely different movie named Casablanca then, because this movie is chock full of themes. There's hope, there's dreams, sacrifice, war, romance. There are so many themes in this movie. Rick is effectively America in this movie. He is an American, and he's actually one of the few American-born actors in the movie, actually. And his character serves as the surrogate for America. He's neutral, he doesn't want to get in anybody's business, even though his past track record, he's usually on the right side, similar to America, but I don't want to confirm that because I know I have fans who don't like America as much as other people do. But regardless, he's a guy who's usually on the losing side of battles, and he goes for the underdog, usually. But at this point in his life, after his relationship with Ilsa didn't work out, in his own words, he sticks his neck out for nobody. He stays out of people's business and he doesn't care. When Major Strasser asks him who does he want to win the war, he's like, I don't care. And who does he think is going to win? He hasn't the slightest idea. He really doesn't care. He takes more issue with the fact that certain interview papers state that he claims that his eyes are really brown. Yeah. So, and yes, Casablanca has to do with the French Resistance, where Paul Henreid's character, Victor Laszlo, is the head of. His character is the hero character. He is always willing to make the sacrifice, whereas Rick is not so sure about that. After being on the losing side so many times, he doesn't even know if he wants to do that anymore, which is totally understandable, but you still want him to be on the good guy's side. One of my other favorite scenes in the film is a flashback sequence that occurs a third of the way into the film. Rick is drinking, he's with Sam, and he's thinking about the fact that Ilsa is back in his life in some capacity, and he is miserable. He's not like Gatsby, where Gatsby yearns for the opportunity to be with the one he loves. Rick wants her to stay as far away as possible, and just doesn't care. My favorite, there's a flashback scene, and it tells about Rick and Ilsa's life in Paris. It's a very, very beautiful sequence, and the two actors have a lot of chemistry on screen. And it's really depressing when Rick finds a letter from Ilsa stating that she is not coming with him to escape Paris, before the Nazis invade, which destroys him. And it's a beautiful scene where you see the rain goes on the paper, and it looks like the paper is crying. Back to the theme about Casablanca in terms of dreams. One of the corniest special effects ever is the plane flying over Rick's cafe, or the scene where Rick and Renault see a plane fly towards and above the Cafe American. And these special effects are fake, partly because, the Casablanca wasn't like an A-list project, it was a B-movie. Essentially, that's what I love about Casablanca. It's not like, oh my god, Merchant Ivory quality. No, this was like a B-movie, really, like I said. And those effects aren't great, but they serve to show the fact that his dream, these are dreams that he has. He wants to get out of Casablanca eventually, in some capacity, and I think that's rather interesting. I really also love the score by Max Steiner. Max Steiner is one of my favorite composers of all time. Also did King Kong, Gone with the Wind, Now Voyager. And he did not write the song as time goes by, but he uses the song very well throughout the rest of the film. Max Steiner wanted to use his own song and make himself look better, but the problem was when they decided to do the reshoot of the film, Ingrid Bergman already cut her hair for another role. So, luckily for us, we have As Time Goes By, one of the greatest songs to ever be featured in a movie. The film won 3 Academy Awards for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Screenplay. The film also helps make Bogart not just a well-known actor, but a star. Like, because of, you can say, Maltese Falcon or High Sierra and all these other movies, but this effectively made Bogart a brand name. Bogart was not going away anytime soon. He was an effective star, and he could show he can play a hero, because previously he played anti-heroes, or not anti-heroes, like darker characters and a lot of villains. And in Casablanca he proved he could play a romantic hero, which he does very effectively in Casablanca. This Blu-ray is rather incredible. There are several supplements. There's a documentary about Michael Curtiz, who directed Casablanca and also co-directed The Adventures of Robin Hood, directed Mildred Pierce, and many other films. He's probably the best director you've never heard of, and that's what the documentary is called. Michael Curtiz, the best director you've never heard of. There's documentary features on Casablanca, its impact, and all the other stuff. It's been on the other supplements. You can watch the Looney Tunes short Carrot Blanca. Really, probably the best parody of Casablanca ever, in my opinion. There's commentary track by Rudy Bellmer, and also there's a commentary track by the late Roger Ebert. Really great commentary track, and one of the first ones that I ever listened to, and that's what made me get into audio commentary tracks. So thank you, Roger Ebert, wherever you are. And this box set has other stupid things like another poster, a book, Casablanca coasters, and all that sort of stuff. And it's just a really nice packaging. But in any capacity how you can watch Casablanca, I think you should watch it. And after you're done watching it, you'll realize this is truly the beginning of a beautiful friendship. See you guys later.